Fight fans, what's going on? It's your boy Ak.
And I'm Barak, the boxing bully.
And we have a friend to the room joining us today. One of my favorite fighters, one of the best fighters in the world, Mr. David Benavidez. Welcome.
What's up, champ?
How you guys doing, man? Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Good.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us, man. Ahead of your big fight, November 22nd in Saudi Arabia. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into Yarde and obviously your interactions, with Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, and how that fight was negotiated. But I just want to go back a couple of weeks, David, because I know you were tuned in. I imagine you were tuned in for Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. And leading up to that fight, I've watched some of your interviews, and it's not like you, at least I didn't see you pick a guy. You talked about Canelo's strengths and Bud's strengths, but as the fight progressed, did you see your selfish thinking? Were you thinking, man, this Canelo fight is really slipping away for good now? Was that your thought at all?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, the way I had to think about it, I thought that fight had already slipped away. Canelo didn't show no signs of wanting to fight. That was definitely a fight that all the people wanted, and it's a fight that made sense on both parts. Sometimes when a fight isn't made, it's because the money isn't right or, things are right. But, everything was there. The money was there. People wanted to see it. It would have been one of the greatest fights of all time. And because it didn't happen already, I kind of knew that it wasn't really going to happen, or I felt like Canelo didn't want the fight to happen. But after seeing that Crawford and Canelo fight, I'm like, oh, man, this fight for sure is done. It's done for.
Did you watch the fight live?
Yeah, I watched it live.
All right, so what part in the fight did you think, okay, wait a minute, Bud really has this fight in the bag?
To be honest with you, I felt like already in the fourth round, the way with how Canelo was fighting, I'm like, man, he's gonna let Crawford get too far ahead, and then when he's gonna want to catch up, he's not gonna be able to do anything. Because it's been a trend already, like the way Canelo fights, he takes the first 4 rounds really slow, and his punch output has gone down a lot. He only throws like 10 punches per fight. And with an elite fighter like Crawford that knows how to fight and knows how to box around the ring and could also, when he needs to brawl, he could brawl. He has the dog in him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Crawford, it looked like two different stories. It looked like Crawford was training for the biggest moment of his life, and it looked like Canelo was already, he kind of let the money get to him and he wasn't prepared 100%.
Wow.
The leading up to that fight, most people were making a big deal about the weight difference. I didn't think it was going to play a fact at all because Canelo's a small super middleweight. Were you surprised at all, how Bud was able to show his strength and stand in the pocket at times and bang with Canelo?
It didn't really surprise me because I said back then, man, I said that it wouldn't surprise me if Crawford won, or it wouldn't have surprised me if he would have got knocked out. The reason why I say that is because Crawford, he's a great fighter. He's in there. He has that dog in him. We all seen how great of a fighter he is. With Canelo, the reason why the weight should have played a big role is because Canelo's used to fighting these big fighters. Like I said, he didn't prepare 100% because once things don't go your way, you have to put that pressure. You have to put that pressure. You have to do whatever it is for you to get in there and secure, to win a round or secure a knockout. In Canelo's case, it looked like he didn't have it in him. He didn't have the energy to push forward. Just like how he did with Caleb Plant. He was losing the first 4 rounds, and then in the 5th, 6th round, he started putting in that pressure. You know what I mean? And that's what you're supposed to do with little guys like that. I think if he would have had that same stamina, it would have went a different way. Or if just the wanting to win the fight, it would have went a different way. But hats off to Crawford. He had a great fight, he had a great performance, and he's up there now with the legends. And everything what he accomplished that fight can never be taken away from him. He's an all-time great now.
I have to ask you about the famous tweet that Turki Al-Sheikh put out right after that fight, where he said, "Can David Benavidez make 168 again?" I mean, obviously you saw it, and we know what he was insinuating. What was your first thought when you saw that tweet?
I didn't see it, bro. To be honest with you, I don't really be on social media like that. But I had seen my cousin that sent it to me, and he was like, I told him, no, bro, I'm done with 168. I'm not going down to 168. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me. I mean, let Crawford live, let him have his glory. You know what I mean? I don't like that type of stuff where it's just like exactly like that. Like Crawford won his fight, and then they always say, "Oh, what does David Benavidez think?" I'm not gonna go in there and shit on him saying that, "Oh, I'm gonna fight him. I'll go down to 168," because I have no interest in going down to 168. Right. I wouldn't even. The only interest I had was going down to 168 was for Canelo, and If they told me to go down to 168 to fight Canelo, I wouldn't even do that.
Oh, so you
Wow.
wouldn't even do that now if that fight presented itself?
Nah, man. Like I said, I was there at 168 for what, 11 years, and my body is growing out of 168. You know what I mean? To be honest, I can fight 168, but my thing is that I gotta fight in the weight class that I feel the best, that I give myself the best chance to win, and it's 175. You know, I wouldn't go down to 168 for anybody.
Right. Yeah, 168. I mean, we always thought you was big for 168. We was waiting for you to move up anyway. We even think that you could probably fight at cruiserweight. But before we got to this Yarde fight, Anthony Yarde, very tough competitor, gave Kovalev all he can handle till he gassed out. What was probably on the table? Because Turki, he doesn't really keep secrets like all these other promotional companies. You got to wait, don't say nothing. He'll say it months in advance. What other names were on the table? Did he say to you, hey, Benavidez, have patience, get Yarde, and then who?
No, so obviously the fight that we're going for was for Bivol. You know what I mean? That's the fight that everybody wanted to see. That's the fight that we're in line to fight for. That's what we're getting ready for. You know what I mean? So when I heard that Bivol was gonna fight Beterbiev for the third time, I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad about it, because I respect that Bivol is giving Beterbiev another shot, because Beterbiev gave him a shot for the first rematch. So I'm like, I'm not mad about that. So we're looking around who's there. We're looking at Callum Smith, Anthony Yarde, and we're also thinking about Zurdo Ramirez, if we can make that fight happen under Riyadh season. So there was a lot of good names, you know what I mean? And after we signed this fight with Anthony Yarde, then Turki got excited that we were fighting with Riyadh season, and he said, you know what? Why don't we make the fight with Beterbiev happen? I said, shit. I'm like, that's exactly what I want. Let's get that then. So I mean, that's where we're at now. But like I said, I don't like to overlook opponents.
Right.
Anthony Yarde, he's a tough veteran. And I feel like he knows that his back is against the wall right now. This is probably the last chance he's gonna get at fighting for a world title. So it's a big deal for both of us. You know what I mean? I know he's a dangerous fighter. He has a nice left hook. He has a good defense too, Philly shell. He knows how to box. We've seen that he has heart. So, I'm 100% focused on this. But as in the landscape of 175, there's a lot of great fights to be made. Me, Beterbiev, Bivol, and whoever else is there. You know what I mean? And we have a lot of good opportunities here.
So you mentioned possible fight with Zurdo Ramirez. So he's fighting at cruiserweight. Would you go up to cruiserweight to fight Zurdo Ramirez, or would you want it to be at a different weight?
Nah, I'd definitely be cruiserweight. Like I said, I respect the weight classes, and I want to go up, and I want to win those. He had 2 belts, right?
Yeah.
So that would be great for me in my career. And then the reason why I want to fight Zurdo is because we sparred so many times back then, and we know, everybody that knows us, that's seen us spar, they know that that's a pay-per-view. That was a pay-per-view sparring session.
Really?
So we could only imagine the fights.
Wow.
So it has to be done, bro, because I have a lot of respect for Zurdo Ramirez, and then he has a lot of respect for me. So we definitely have to go get this fight and go get this money.
So speaking of sparring, before you go on, who is the tougher sparring, Ramirez or Bivol?
Bivol.
Really?
Bivol is the toughest because he's more of a technical fighter, and every punch he has is solid. He really knows what he's doing. He doesn't waste no shots. Not saying that Ramirez wastes shots, but I mean, you guys seen the fight between him and Ramirez, so that kind of answers itself. But both of them, they're world class fighters. Like I said, any one of these fighters, I have to be extremely ready. Like I always come in, I come in extremely ready. I don't overlook anybody. I know what type of task I have at hand, and we'll be ready for whoever when we get in the ring with them.
There's rumors about your sparring sessions with Bivol. Insiders have told me that you've given them that work right now. What is your assessment of your sparring sessions, and do you feel that Bivol has become a better fighter since your sparring sessions?
Well, you know what? I say the sparring sessions are sparring sessions, and a lot of people like to say that, it's not the same thing in the fight. I like to say that it is the same thing. If you could touch somebody in the sparring, you could touch them in the fight. You know what I mean? And Bivol is a great fighter, but like I said, every time I get in there with a great fighter, it puts me to a different mindset, because I know, these fighters are very dangerous. So when I was sparring with Bivol, I sparred him a lot, and you could go ask him, whoever his people are. I'm not no liar. I heard him the last time we sparred. But not to say that I'm not just gonna bank off that, be like, oh yeah, I heard him in sparring, well, I'm gonna just knock him out in the fight. No, I mean, I know Bivol's a great fighter. I give him all the respect, but as of hurting him, I did hurt him the last time I sparred him. And I was, 21 years old. It's 22. I
Wow.
was 22 years old.
Wow.
But to answer your question, he's became a great fighter. He's gotten way better since then. But guess
Right.
what? I've got way better since then too.
Right.
Yeah, I think when people say, sparring is different, obviously, than a fight, it's because some sparring partners come in there to help you work on things, and they're not going 100%. But when you got a guy like Bivol at the level that he was already at that time, he's gonna really be in there fighting. So
No,
I
and then
understand what you're saying.
also too with these top fighters, when you're a top fighter, there's no easy sparring because
Exactly.
it's like how you said, you're trying to show how good you are. They're trying to show how good they are. You know what I mean? At the time when I sparred Bivol, he was already a great fighter. You know what I mean? So, and I was still young, 22 years old. I was trying to make a name for myself. I had become champion already, but he had way more experience than me. But I did what I did with him with the experience I had. You know what I mean? And like I said, now I'm smarter, faster. I know how to work more, and I've become an all around better fighter. But I know he has you too. So at the end of the day, this is what makes boxing great. You got two great fighters going in there, leaving it all on the ring and giving the fans what they want to see.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
you show respect to Zurdo and even Bivol, right? And there have been times where you've had bad blood with certain fighters, like Caleb Plant. Obviously, there's probably respect now, but before the fight, is it easier for you to not personally like a guy before you fight him, opposed to having a lot of respect for a guy, but still having to go in there and try to knock his head off?
To be honest with you, I really just go about how the fighter treats me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this shit is a show. It's a circus sometimes. Sometimes you want to see this trash talking. Sometimes you want to see two fighters get in each other's face. I just go with the flow. You know what I mean? I'm not that type of fighter that's going to go in there just be talking trash for no reason. If somebody wants to talk trash to me, I'll let them know what it is. And I've showed every time that, I'm going to back up everything I say.
Right.
But
Right.
but yeah, man, it's just
But I'm saying, does that get you up more when fighters do annoy you and get you upset, like motivate you more?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be honest with you, it does. It does motivate me more. It motivates me way more because not only, we're talking trash, everybody can see it. Not only we get more involved in it, the fans get more involved. You know what I mean? Everybody's like talking trash from their side, our side. So, I mean, it definitely makes the fight, it gives it more hype and it does give me a little bit more motivation to get up and train a little bit harder.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question about Al Haymon because I believe he was one of the guys who really helped the sport from like 2013, him and Golden Boy, really rejuvenated the sport, I believe. And there was a list years ago, I believe it was Mike Coppinger, but I think it was ESPN who put out a list about the most influential people in boxing. He was number one. Everybody in the world knew he was number one. But right now there's a list out couple of months ago by Boxing News, and they put him at number 6, and Turkey is number 1. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like Al is still a powerhouse? He should have slipped down, and Turkey is number 1?
To be honest with you, I feel like the relationship I have with Al Haymon and the relationship other people have with Al Haymon is never going to be compared to anything else because Al Haymon, he's the type of fighter where if you don't have a fight and, things are moving slow, they'll give you an advance. They'll give you a $300, $400, $500,000 advance. He'll make sure you're good. He treats you like family. I've barely started working with Turk and he's treating me good, but I'm not talking about him, but other promoters like back then, they don't really treat you like family. They don't look out for you. They do the very bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's good to have. It feels good, like especially in this boxing game, to have somebody that feels like family that's helping you out. But, because sometimes you might get injured, and the bank account might be looking a little bit low.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we don't do nothing else. We just box, and they'll
Yes.
slip you 50,000, 100,000 just to make sure the bills are taken care of.
Wow.
And also, these purses, me and my team, we've been able to negotiate the purses, to nice amounts, you know what I mean? So that's the thing too, they treat us like family, they never treat us like we're just employees, you know what I mean? And it's been like family, I feel like Al Haymon is my family, you know what I mean? He's helped me. I've been with PBC since I was 19 years old. Samsung and PBC. So they've treated me like family. So I'm nothing but respect. And Al Haymon, I'm always going to hold Al Haymon #1.
Almost every boxer we speak to speaks the same way about Al Haymon. That's why we love what he's done for the sport.
What up, fight fans? It's your boy Ak. We have a super entertaining fight coming your way. Join in on all the action with our partners at DraftKings. Okay, Barak, the Mexican monster, right? Mike Tyson coined David Benavidez this. He's fighting Anthony Yarde, who I respect very much. Right. He's a very good fighter. This fight is going to be more competitive than people think. We know what Benavidez can do, but Yarde has a chip on his shoulder, and he knows the opportunity that's in front of him.
First of all Anthony Yarde's fights are competitive. The thing is that he's fighting somebody who's young. Yeah. He's fighting somebody who's young, who's on a tremendous roll, one of the best fighters in the world. I don't know how long that fight might last, but I do think that he might feel that this is one of his last chances. Yeah. So when a fighter feels like that, he's going to come in shape. It's going to be a tough fight. This is going to be one of those fights that you don't want to miss. Check out everything that DraftKings has to offer and sign up with our code ATS Fights. The crown is yours.
With so many different ways to play, DraftKings has something for every sports fan. Join in on the action all night long. See what DraftKings has to offer via the app or the website. Join in on the action right now.
I can't believe you guys are still standing there. Go download the DraftKings app right now. And new customers, use our promo code ATS Fights to level up your fight night experience.
I need you to talk to me about your interactions with Turki Al-Sheikh, like the first time you met him and how those interactions went, and what's the first thing that he said to you about yourself?
Oh, Turki Al-Sheikh is a great guy. They've treated us with nothing but respect too. Started having contact with him about maybe a year ago. But I mean, they've treated me really good. The thing about with me, what I like to do is sometimes I have my lawyer, talk for me. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need in this negotiation, you need somebody to be the bad guy. I agree to everything, but then when it's time to make the negotiation, start talking to my lawyer. That's what you got to do, man. That's the way you got to do it, because at the end of the day, when you negotiate with somebody, it kind of ruins it. I'm not going to say it ruins a relationship, but you know what I mean? You know how negotiations work. Yeah, but no, Turki Al-Sheikh has been great with me. Their whole team has been great with me. They invited me to Riyadh to see the Bivol and Beterbiev fight, and they treated me like family as well. So Turki Al-Sheikh is a great guy. He's very ambitious, and I'm very happy that we're working. I'm not signed with Riyadh season. I'm still with Samson Lukowicz and PBC. But we're able to make these plays over here with Riyadh season, and I see a lot of good things happening. I think Turki Al-Sheikh, he's making the biggest fights happen, and I'm just grateful to be able to be a part of this.
So they rolled out the red carpet for you. I'm happy to hear that, because at one point when Turki was heavily involved making big fights, people were saying, why isn't he doing business with David? Why isn't Benavidez involved in these negotiations? So whatever happened, that's water under the bridge, because you guys got to the point. And I also want to acknowledge my guy Lou DeCubas, who's kind of like the voice for Al Haymon, right? And has been also pivotal with negotiating fights for yourself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Luis DeCubas, shout out to him, hats off to him. I've been working with him since I was 19 years old too. He treats me like family as well, bro. So it's a whole team, all of us. Al Haymon, Samson Lukowicz, Luis DeCubas, my father Jose Benavidez, and then my uncle David Garcia. So we have a great team, man. And the thing I want to tell about fighters, man, if the way you have everything move smooth is that you keep winning and doing your job. You know what I mean? It's hard to negotiate. I see other fighters, they want all this money, this and that, but they're not looking good in their fights. Mm-hmm. First of all, do your job, make sure you look great in the fight, and then everything else runs smooth after.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned some really great things about your team, Al Haymon, and now Turki's in the mix. So that means bigger purses even for some fighters. But how does that look for you? Because we speak to some fighters and they might be making big purses, but if they were to get injured, let's say tomorrow, they couldn't live the rest of their life. Are you a fighter that's conscious on making investments and buying properties and stuff like that so that you could be good after boxing?
Yeah, to be honest with you, because, I started thinking about it 4 years ago. I've been making a really good money since I was 20 years old, and for the first 6 years, I didn't do nothing but pay taxes and spend all my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of,
At
and
least you
then
paid your taxes, though.
Yeah, I
that's the
seen
main
the
thing.
jewelry and the clothes. You were spending that money.
I spend a lot of it. You know what I mean? So then you get to a point where like, yeah, I got all this jewelry, I got this cars, but I ain't got no, my money every month is getting lower and lower. I don't got no investments. So for me, that should really scare fighters. You should think about not. You should think about if you stop boxing today, what do you have that's going to keep paying your bills? Because at the end of the day, I don't care what nobody says. If you're done boxing, you have to look for a job or a way to make money
Right,
because these bills never stop coming.
right.
So I thought to myself, like, man, I need to get started with this, bro. Like, so, I have 3 houses now. I have a house in Seattle. Right now, I have a condo in Brickell, Miami. That right now, I got my house I live in now. I just bought a camp house. And for the people that are listening, if you could buy a camp house, you could buy a camp house and you could put your sparring partners in there and you could write it off. You could write off the whole camp house. So we're doing that. I also got my Easy Bocce, a food truck. I just opened a couple months ago. I also got me and my wife, we have a cosmetic spa, one in Seattle, and then she's about to open another one here in Miami. So, and then also I got my financial advisor, which that's probably the easiest money I've ever made, honestly. So, all the people listening, if you have go look for a good financial advisor. And that's probably the easiest money you'll make without the less headaches. You know what I mean? Because everything else you need to figure about the employees, pay all this stuff. And with the financial advisor, what they'll do, they'll put your no money into stocks or whatever, and you don't got to do nothing. You know what I mean? You just see the residuals go up, and that's probably the easiest money that I've ever made in my life. So financial advisor, um, got my businesses, got my houses, and for me, what I like to do every fight is like I like to buy a house every fight.
Wow.
Put a down payment in, and then put the renters in there, then just let them pay it off. And thank God, everything has been going really good lately.
Beautiful, man. Thank you
Speaking
so
of,
much for sharing that because we love when fighters, especially young fighters like you, 28 years old, can share that knowledge and information for other fighters coming up in the game.
and we understand that, when you first start getting that money, man, you got to get that out your system and shine
Yeah.
a little bit. So, speaking of Miami, big fight coming up in Miami, November 14th. You talked about boxing. Once it's done, you have to find a way to make money. So why do you think people have so much negative things to say about Tank accepting a fight with Jake Paul when there are reports of him making $40 million for this fight, right? An opportunity that may not be there around the corner after he fights a Lamont Roach or after he fights a Shakur Stevenson. Nothing is guaranteed in boxing, as you know, right? How do you feel about that fight? And are you okay with Tank accepting that?
I'm okay with Tank accepting that fight, but I would tell you my problem about that. Now,
Okay.
I don't want nobody to feel mad.
Okay.
Not about the fight. I just want to see Tank fight Shakur Stevens, Devin Haney, all the fights, man. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's Tank, as a world champion first, he should give us those fights. Because those are the fights I want to see. Not taking anything away from the fight with Jake Paul. I know it's going to be a big fight with big money, but it's not really, it's competitive to the point where it's not really about the skill. It's about the size and the skill. You know what I mean? Because Tank is way smaller than Jake Paul, but we know that if he lands a good shot, it could be over for Tank. But also, in my opinion, Jake Paul is so big that if he lands the right shot, maybe if he lands in the back of the head or in the side of the head, it might be over too. So it's not really about skill. It's not really about skill. It's just about, two size difference and stuff like that. And I don't want to sound like I'm hating or nothing, but like I said, I'd rather see Tank with Shakur Stevens. In my opinion, if Tank fights Shakur Stevens, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia too again, he beats all them guys. Imagine how much bigger the fight is with Jake Paul.
Right, but why can't he still go fight those fights after Jake as well? They're still going to be there. He's only 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm saying I want to see that already.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've been waiting for a long time. You know what I mean? And those are the fights that really gets us excited for boxing because Gervonta Davis, he's one of the best to ever do it. He's dangerous fighter.
Right.
He's probably the fighter closest to Mike Tyson that we've seen in the past. I don't know, since Mike Tyson. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like at the end of the day, that's what I want to see. I don't know where what I mean, we obviously know what Gervonta wants to do, but I'm just speaking as a fan perspective. That's what I
No,
want
we,
to see.
we want to see
Right.
those fights too. Absolutely.
100%. And when a fighter gets, rather, when fans get upset, it's because we love the fighter so much and we expect so much from him. So what do you think about that fight between Tank and Roach?
I think it's a good fight. I think Roach showed that he deserves to be in there. And it sucks too because Roach, to be honest with you, the first fight, I didn't expect Roach to really do much in the first fight. And not only is he's taking another opportunity away from Roach to show his greatness, because he showed that he could, he's on the same level as Gervonta Davis. For the rematch, that was going to be his way to prove himself. But now that's not happening.
Do you think that draw was the right decision, even with the knee not being counted? Or do you think maybe the knee should have been counted as a knockdown?
I think it's the referee's job to make those decisions. You know what I mean? I think if he would have made that call, then yeah, Roach would have won.
Did you agree with the draw? You think that was the right call?
Yeah, it was a good call, to be honest with you. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so you're one of the best in the world. You're on the pound for pound. You're definitely on our pound for pound list because nowadays it's about who you fought and how you performed. And you fought some top guys, top guy after top guy after top guy, champion in 2 weight divisions. Who was your toughest fight?
To be honest with you, the toughest fight was, I'm not going to lie to you, it was David Morrell. It was a tough fight. I'm going to give you top 3. The toughest fight was David Morrell, Caleb Plant, and then Gvozdyk.
Really?
Yeah.
Gvozdyk was your first fight at light heavyweight.
Only
right.
because I dealt with so much shit during the fight. You know what I mean? In my hands, I had this freaking, the tendon, I had a torn tendon. I had a cut 2 weeks before the fight. Left hand was messed up. So it was not really more because of the fighters, because I was handicapped for most of the fight.
Right.
I remember being in the back room hitting mitts, getting ready for the fight, and I already felt my hands starting to swell up, both of them. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, it's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a long night.
Do you agree with when fighters say, David, that we never go into a fight 100% because there's always something wrong, whether it's an elbow, a knee, a hand, a finger. Like, do you agree with that? Do you feel that way?
I don't agree with that. Okay. There's been some fights where I feel like I'm even 150%.
Thank you. I love the fact that you said that and keeping it real, bro. Listen, I want to talk to you about some legends that you've spent some time with, right? That have given you advice, pointers, and just had good conversations. Andre Ward, Roy Jones, right? Can you talk to me about your interactions and maybe some game that you got from them that you'll take with you throughout your career?
Honestly, just having them in my presence, and I was just talking boxing is something I'll cherish for the rest of my life, because these are the guys I grew up watching. You know what I mean? Not only just them, but Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya, Marco Antonio Barrera, Marquez, just having them, just, picking their brain and having their perspective on how they box and what advice would they give me and how would they box if they're in my shoes. It's just getting all these brains thinking and, just giving me their advice and me just kind of grabbing that advice and putting it into my brain, it's just like a gift from God, to be honest with you. That's really how I see it. It's like, how could I explain it? It's like somebody in football they're talking to Tom Brady. Like, it's not about, it's about like, just having their presence and having their greatness rub off on you. I can't really explain it, but like I said, it's definitely, they gave me a lot of great tips that I'll definitely hold and cherish for the rest of my life.
Yeah, we definitely understand it, because we experience things like that as well in the facet that we play in boxing. But listen, you're on one of the best stacked cards of 2025, with you, Devin Haney, Jesse Rodriguez, Beterbiev. This is an incredible card. Abdullah Mason. Are there any other?
It's Beterbiev on there 100%?
That's what I was told. I don't know if he got out of that fight with Dion Nicholson. What have you heard?
I've kind of heard like as a rumor. I haven't seen that it was a confirmed 100% yet.
Yeah, it seems to be confirmed.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. This card is, this is something I wanted to, this was kind of my vision when I accepted the fight when I was on the card with Gervonta Davis.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I remember I called Luis de Cubas and said, you know what, let's just, if if we can, I would love to be on the card with Gervonta Davis. And I said, I'll take the second seat. I don't care. I'll be co-main event.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my vision, like going into the future, and it kind of manifested itself. This is probably the best card that we've had in fuck, I don't know how long. This is, nothing but world-class fighters on here.
4 guys that already headed their own cards already,
Yeah, and then
champions.
they're all going to be good fights too. You got Devin Haney versus Brian Norman. That's going to be a great fight. Abdullah Mason, I've been watching him for a long, long time. This is his first world title fight. I'm very excited for that. Bam Bam Rodriguez, he's fighting, another champion. And then now Beterbiev is on there, man. It's probably it's gonna be a great night. So I'm very excited. I'm very motivated for this, and we're working extremely hard.
And we got to get to Riyadh. We got to get to Saudi for this one. This card is going to be too crazy. We can't miss it. And preparing for this fight, David, I want to talk about your relationship with your father. Right? I mean, I'm assuming he's still your head coach in your corner for this fight.
Yeah, but yeah, 100%.
Wasn't there talks at one point that maybe you had to go somewhere else to, for whatever reason, do some soul searching or maybe experience somebody else for a while? Did that actually happen, or was that just a notion, a thought?
To be honest with you, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was going through some stuff with my dad. We were not getting along, and I think that just happens with everybody. Everybody, until you really figure out, until the cards get put to play, and I really started thinking about, like, do I want to train with somebody else?
Right.
Do I want to give anybody else the glory? You know what I mean? And after I thought of that, I'm like, you know what? My dad, I'm so grateful for my dad, because if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be here in this position. My dad has pushed me to the limit since I was 3 years old. And he's always been there for me. He's been my backbone. Even when I wanted to quit boxing, he told me, "So David, we can't quit. We've come too far." And this was when I was like 15 years old, you know what I mean? So, for me to just say, fuck it, I'm gonna go with another trainer. I said, you know what? Let me come back, and how can we get better together? And our relationship has gotten better. Our boxing has gotten better. Everything is better. So it was up to me to fix this relationship before I could go and give somebody else the glory of being my trainer. And like I said, I'm really happy with the way that went, because out of us fighting, it made our relationship stronger. Not only as a boxer and trainer, but as a father and son. And right now we're just, I'm very happy what we're doing, and we're better now than ever. We have more chemistry, and we have more motivation to keep going and doing what we've been doing for all this time.
How did you get to the root of whatever was causing the friction in your relationship and fix it? What did you actually have to do? Did you guys go to therapy, or was it just something that naturally happened?
It just naturally happened. Go inside. I'm doing this. Go inside. No,
who is that? Is that your kid? Is that one of your kids?
It's my son.
Let's say what's up to him. Bring him over here.
Anthony, come here. Come say hi. They want to say hi to you.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 now.
What's up, Anthony?
Two boys, 1 girl?
Yeah, 2 boys, 1 girl. All right, go inside. My son is 5 years old. My daughter is 1 year and 9 months, and my other boy is 4 months.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any
hold on, Barak. I want him to answer that question. The way that you and your father fix your relationship, because my follow-up was, what have you learned from that dynamic, as you being a father yourself, something that you will implement with raising your kids?
So I've been close to my father. I've lived with my father my whole life. And we've been close together. We've always been together. We're in Seattle. We were there for 6, 7 years. So I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to go be a man and do my own thing. That's why I came out here to Miami. I moved out here. And the thing about the father and son boxing duo, it's a lot of trauma that's put behind that, bro. Because there's been a lot of great moments, but there's been a lot of hard moments between me and my dad too. You know what I mean? And that's only because he's been pushing me. When you're a boxer, bro, you have to train. You have to put your trainer has to put you in a mindset where it's like military. You're like a soldier. And when you go to the military, do all those guys get treated good? No. But that's what's necessary to get to the top. That's what's necessary to be a soldier and be a warrior. And just because of that, throughout the years, there's just a lot of, back and forth between us. He tells me, I think it's just natural. Father tells the son that he has to do this. The son says, no, I'm not trying to do that. So you just go back and forth
Yeah.
about a lot of things. Because sometimes you just be about stupid shit. But it's just because like, nah, I'm not gonna listen to you and all. And my dad's like, fuck that, you're gonna listen to me. So it's just like,
Yeah.
but I
Sure.
was already done. I was done with that. You know what I mean? And I really needed this for myself. I needed it. I basically needed to become a man. You know what I mean? I'm 28 years old. I've been a man, but once you finally move, you leave the nest. You come. I meet my own connections over here. I meet my own people. Get my own team, and I live by myself. I started living. Just became a man, and you know what I mean. I didn't talk to my dad for like almost half a year, 6 months. But then it's just like it doesn't feel the same when I'm in the gym. It doesn't feel the same not having my dad's presence there. I've had my greatest sparrings with my dad's presence there. I've been there. We've been to the top and we've been to the bottom with my father.
So did you
So
make
it's
the
just
initial call? Did you break
no,
that?
my dad had been calling me, but I
Oh,
just was being a dickhead and didn't answer him. You know what I
wow.
mean? But I just, like I said, once I finally came, I came to like, I thought that's why I made that call. I was looking for different trainers, and I was making that decision myself, and I really started to think like, what do I really want for my life? And I had a vision like of me, my father, we're retired, you know what I mean? And, we did everything together. We conquered the boxing world together. And that felt better for me, and then to getting another trainer. And like I said, now, like we're so much of a team that, I really treat this boxing stuff like I really treat it like, I'm really particular about what I do. I every time I'm done training, I write all my combinations down. I write down what's good and what's bad. I write down what I have planned for the next day, and then I take it to my dad. Then we go over it. We talk about it. We watch boxing. We do all this. So I can't. And this is for other boxers that are listening too. You can't expect your trainer to do 100% of the work all the time. You have to put your input. You have to be like just like how they do in the NFL. Not only do they practice, but they're there studying the plays. They're interacting with each other. They're doing everything together. You know what I mean? So I take that approach as to my boxing now, and it's helped all of us. It's really definitely helped all of us.
It's just great to hear that you guys reconcile, especially as a
Yes.
father and son, because that's more important than the boxing. But what would have happened was crazy is that you just would have went to another trainer. If you would have went to a great trainer, he would have been just as hard, or if not harder than your father, and you would have been like, well, you know what? I should have been doing this with my father, so he could have gotten the glory.
That's exactly the mindset I had towards that. You know what I mean? If bro, boxing is when you're in there and you're mid camp, you don't want to hear shit from nobody.
Right.
So I'm thinking if I'm gonna have somebody telling me orders, it might as well be my dad, because I might slap the shit out of anybody else. You know what I mean? And that's just facts. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'd rather just listen. So I'd rather just, go through it with my dad, just fix the problems. And also, answer your question. The reason why I did that, because I looked at my son and I'm like, man, in the future, my son might have the same thoughts that I'm having now. He might be tired of me. You know what I mean? He might get tired of me and might tell me to fuck off.
Right.
So I said, you know what? So for me, I want to show, I want to do this right. And I want to talk to my dad. So if I ever, because I plan on training my son when he gets older. If we ever have these problems, I know how to fix it. I know that I could give him his space. He could go be a man and he could do whatever he wants to do. And then we'll come back and talk, because what I've noticed is the father, even if you guys get in a fight, the father-son relationship, it's never going to end.
Right.
You guys might not talk for, if it's a really bad relationship, you guys might not talk for 5 years, but then everybody ends up coming together sooner or later, eventually.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I thought too, like, I can't just think about myself. I got to think of myself like as, I got to put myself in my father's shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And think about like as through his mindset. So that was my mindset through all that. And, it worked out good. Like I said, I've never been happier.
Well,
Yeah,
100%.
that's
You know,
beautiful.
me being a father of a 17-year-old that doesn't get along with me too well now, but used to be by my side every moment. I could feel that energy, and I'm glad that your son kind of gave you an epiphany, and because you guys make a phenomenal team, obviously, man. So,
But then also too, like, I want to add to that is like, I told my father, like, man, like, to be honest with you, I didn't get along with my father back then. I thought he hated me, but because he fucking worked me so hard. And when I got to this moment, like, I that's also too, this is what came up to my mind. I'm like, man, my dad put me through all this stuff, and now nobody can fuck with me. He made a monster. It's like I should be thanking him for giving me this gift. Like
Yes.
literally, nobody can fuck with me,
Yes.
in or outside the ring. You know what I mean? So, and why am I gonna be mad for my dad pushing me? Why am I gonna be a bitch saying, "Oh, he was too hard on me, this and that"? Well, look at where I'm at.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm the best ever. I can't nobody mess with me mentally or physically, and I should be thanking him. I should be thanking him. You know, I wanted to make things better with him because sometimes at the end of the day, you can't just be looking at the bad. You have to look at what the good that came out of that too, and you know that's
And
where I
you
came
don't
from.
want him to ease up on you now and not push you the same, and then
Yeah.
and not have the same results. So,
So now he don't really push me. I push myself now. You know what I mean?
okay.
That's over with. You know, I made sure that I told myself for my dad, you know, not to really. Well, my dad respects me way more now, but for him not to, you know, to sometimes when you gotta motivate a fighter, man, let's go. But I'm the type of fighter I am is that my dad has to actually pull me back because I work way too hard. You know what I mean? And that's only because I don't want to go through those things between me and my dad. You know, I want my dad to feel comfortable.
So you're not
I want
lazy
my dad-
anymore. You're not lazy anymore like back in the day.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And I like I said, I want. Because my dad, you know, this boxing game is scary. And sometimes when people don't take their fucking job serious, that's when you get hurt. So for me to give my family, my father, the comfortability, you know, mentally, you know, I'm in there working like a fucking animal. And that's only because my dad taught me to be like that.
I know you're super young, you know, but how much time do you think you have left in this sport, being that you already got belts at 2 different weight classes?
Well, to be honest with you, seeing how everybody, I mean, I think the landscape of boxing has changed. There's just so much different ways to like recover, to prolong your boxing life. I got another 15 years left of me.
15, 43 years old fighting.
Wow.
The way I live my life now, I take care of my kid. I wake up, I pray, I give thanks to God. I take care of my kids. I go to the gym. I box. I train. I come back. I fight 2 times a year. I'm able to make this money, take care of my investments. And why would I not want to do that for the next 15 years? You know what I mean? If I take care of my body well enough, bro, 2 fights a year ain't shit. You know what I mean? And you have enough time to recover. You have enough time for yourself. You have enough time for your family, and you have enough time to train hard. You know, that's why I trained for 4 months and a half.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For my training camp. I mean, and this is something I love to do, man. Like I said, like all I have to do is not, you know, not fucking drink or do all that dumb shit and just stay focused. And man, this is honestly, the more focused I am, the harder I work, the better I feel. I feel more connected with God. And like, I just feel like I have so much fight left in me. And that's what I'm saying. You know, 40, another 15 years to 43 is really not that, you know, it's not that old. I mean, you see Pacquiao.
Yeah.
He just fought Mario Barrios. Was he 47?
Yeah.
I mean, I think nobody's ever put it in that perspective. So I get your vision, because when you think about it, all right, I'm fighting twice a year, making a good living. Well, I think people generally talk about the sparring, the training, the wear on your body leading up to the fight. But if you train 4 months out of the year and fight twice, it doesn't seem that bad if you're not taking damage in a fight, if you're not getting hurt and getting hit often. So I get your point, but it's still a brutal sport.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. And I pray that you can actually fulfill that dream and accomplish that. But at the end of the day, also just naturally, the body is finished when the body is finished, no matter what. You know what I mean? So you might be 40 years old and be like, yo, I just can't do it. Even though I did it right, I just can't do it anymore. But hopefully you will be that anomaly like a Bernard Hopkins, Manny Pacquiao, and Bud Crawford, who's 38 years old and really
and that's what I'm saying.
I
see these other great fighters, and it's not impossible. It could be done.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I program myself, if I condition myself now to think like this until I get there, you know, my mindset is that, you know, I want to box another 15 years. So, you know, we're doing everything right on this side to make sure we accomplish that and fulfill that. And I feel like it's going to be easier too, because the older I get, you know, obviously the more weight I'm going to put on, the higher I'm going to go up. You know, that's why, you know, I want to be at, you know, as light heavyweight for another 5 years, then cruiserweight another 5 years, and then maybe we can get to heavyweight.
Maybe
maybe we can get to heavyweight.
So what do you like to do? Like, well, if you weren't fighting, what What would David Benavidez be doing for a living right now?
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
That's all he ever done.
That's all I've ever think about. Like I've only had a plan A. Like I mean, obviously, like I like investing in the real estate. You know what I mean? Maybe that's something like as to not as in the future. Like I would like to construct them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like constructing something from the ground up. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be something, but that takes more time. And I haven't thought of nothing else because at the end of the day, I see a lot of people fucking up because they have so much other jobs and so much other shit that they're doing outside of boxing that they forget to give boxing 100%. I just want to give boxing 100%. I want to give, and I don't want nothing else to interfere with that.
Have you ever thought about being a boxing analyst? You're well spoken, you speak well, you know the sport very well. Maybe talking about it on camera as an analyst.
Yeah, I would like to do that in the future, just not right now.
Right, no doubt.
Cool. We like to do something that's called a standing 8 with all our fighters. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw a name out there. And in that fighter's prime, we want to know how a fight with you would turn out, whether you would beat them unanimous decision, draw, knockout, or maybe they would have beat you. Are you ready for that?
Yo.
You can set it off, Barak.
All right. Roy Jones Jr.
I'll beat him decision.
Wow.
Antonio Tarver.
Decision. See, it's just like I know all these guys. Like, I don't want to say like you know what I mean. But
well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, you get to say whatever you want.
Say knockout. I knock all of them out.
You could say. All right. Because some people say that they would beat them, like they would beat them. You know.
But I'm not gonna say nobody could beat me.
I feel you. I'm not mad at you.
James, all right, let's go.
James Toney.
I'll beat him decision.
Andre Ward.
Decision.
Beterbiev.
Knockout.
If Usyk was at cruiserweight and you go up to cruiserweight, how would that fight play out?
Oh, I'll beat him. Decision. It'll be a chess match for sure.
Joe Calzaghe.
I'll beat him as well. Decision.
All right, now this fight could actually happen. Dimitri Bivol.
Shit, I'll knock his ass out.
Knocking out all the new guys. Decision
Knocking
all the old
yeah,
guys.
exactly. I have respect. I have respect.
Standing 8.
That's just
David
standing 8.
Benavidez. Thank you, champ. Appreciate that.
All right. All right. Listen, we're excited about this Yarde fight. Obviously, he's a guy that this is his last hurrah, so to speak. So he's going to put everything on the line, right? Stylistically, do you like fighters that apply pressure? Like his stylistically, is it easy for you to score a knockout with that style of fight?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it is easier for me to score a knockout with those fighters because you don't have to do much. Those fighters come to you. The other fighters, like boxers, like Caleb Plant, you have to go, you have to set traps, you have to cut the ring off because their mindset is hit and run. When fighters that come and brawl, they're going to be there the whole night. So then that way I could brawl and then I could set the traps myself. You know, I don't have a problem with either of the fighters. I like fighting both fighters, you know, but for what's easier for me is a brawler that comes and just comes and brawls with me.
You said you and your father like doing homework together. So which fight of Yarde's did you guys go back and study?
So from any fighter that I watch that I'm going to fight, the first fight I immediately go to is their best fights. The reason for that is when I prepare for the best fighter of wherever it is I'm fighting, I go and look for the best weapons. I go see what they do good and what they do bad. Obviously, the fight that we watched first was Beterbiev. You know, we picked up from that he has a good left hook. He has a good defense. When you put a lot of pressure in, he likes to get on the corner. He likes to check hook. So we've calculated all that. We also calculated the Kovalev fight. And then there was the other fight that we watched.
Lyndon Arthur?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lyndon Arthur. So he's
a trilogy with him.
Yeah, he's a good fight. He's a good fighter. You know, he does a lot of stuff good. Anthony Yarde does a lot of stuff good. He has good defense too. So we're preparing for the best Anthony Yarde that's going to be available. So you know, I'm ready for whatever he does.
What out of the fight? You're obviously we talked about the amazing card. Devin Haney is fighting a big puncher and Brian Norman. Can you give me, you know, your kind of, I guess, a prediction on those fights? How do you think they play out? I'm talking about the Bam fight, the Devin fight, and the Mason fight.
I think Devin Haney is going to win because of how much experience he has. You know, he's fought a lot of great fighters, and I think he's more of himself right now. They're fighting at 147, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's more of himself. He's able to utilize more of his power, more of his conditioning, and more of his speed. I really haven't seen Brian Norman. I've seen that he knocked some guy out, the Japanese guy, but
Right.
as for opponents, Devin Haney, he's miles ahead of him. You know, Devin Haney's. You know, I don't like how people sometimes they try to downplay Devin Haney
Right.
because he has so much great fighters on his resume.
Yeah.
A lot of great fighters. You know, he's had great fights. He's beat all of them.
Yeah.
So I think Devin Haney, he's definitely going to win this fight. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think Devin Haney knows what type of fight he has at hand, and I think he's going to be 100% prepared. For the next one, I think Abdullah Mason's going to win. You know, I think this is going to be his first world title, and I'm excited to see that. You know, because he has a lot of skill. He's fast, strong. He has good reflexes, and I'm picking him to win. For the other fight, I'm picking Bam Bam Rodriguez, and in my opinion, he's one of the best fighters in this
the
era.
world. Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
He's the
These
main
are
monster.
all undefeated opponents too. All those three that you just named are fighting undefeated opponents.
Yeah. So Bam Bam Rodriguez is a great fighter, you know. And then Beterbiev, I think if he fights on that card, I definitely think he's gonna win. So it's gonna be a great card, man, from the top to the bottom.
So just to make it clear, to set the record straight, David Benavidez is no longer ever going to fight at 168. He's not going down to fight Terence Crawford or Canelo Alvarez at 168.
No, never.
I always like to ask our guests before they leave, if you had it your way, give me your next 3 opponents. Should you beat Yarde in the order that you want them in?
The next 3 opponents. I would love to get Zurdo Ramirez, then Dimitri Bivol, then Artur Beterbiev.
Amazing run.
That's a
right there.
nice lineup right there.
For sure.
Listen,
Thank
David,
you so much, champ.
You're one of our favorite fighters, one of the most exciting fighters in the world, pound for pound. I'm looking forward to the showdown, and hopefully we can get to Riyadh and see it in person. So good luck, and I'm happy to hear that things are going great with your family and your pops, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for inviting me on here, and I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys in Riyadh.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Take care, champ.